Maybe it was a job loss or a promotion that never happened, or a career path that didn't unfold the way that you had planned or had hoped for. Whatever it was, you're trying to move on. You're applying for jobs, updating your LinkedIn. You're even considering a career pivot. On the surface, it looks like you're doing completely fine. But inside, something isn't clicking the way that it used to. You're going through the motions, but can't seem to find the energy or motivation you used to have. Work that used to excite you and now feels overwhelming. Even the smallest tasks, sending an email, reaching out to a friend, it can just feel like too much. And you wonder, why is this so hard? Why can't I just move on? In today's video, we're going to take a look at how this isn't about laziness or a lack of resilience. It's about career grief. That's a form of loss that often goes unrecognized. I'm Laverne McKinnon, and I'm a career strategist and a grief recovery specialist. I love to provide tools and insights to support your career growth, including grief work. Because here's the thing, unprocessed grief, it leads to a loss of resiliency, and resiliency is a critical element to long-term career success. Long-term career success leads to financial stability and fulfillment. So that's why I'm both a coach and a certified grief recovery specialist. All right, let's jump into the good stuff. When grief isn't acknowledged or processed, it doesn't just disappear. It lingers, and it shows up like a lack of motivation, burnout, self-doubt, and you can even feel a kind of like resistance to moving forward. Because this feeling, it convinces you that you should be over it by now, even when part of you still feels stuck. So this part is really interesting. Unlike other forms of grief, career grief is often disenfranchised, meaning it's not widely recognized or even validated. So if you lost a loved one, people would obviously acknowledge that your heart is broken and that you're mourning. But when you lose a job or a professional identity, the world expects you to bounce back quickly, immediately, without any type of mourning process, without any type of reflection. And that expectation, it creates so much pressure. And so that's why we start to feel like, wait, something is really off. So instead of allowing yourself to fully process the loss, you just push forward and you get into problem-solving mode. So you apply for new roles, you update LinkedIn, you keep up appearances, you show up to networking events, but there's this drag and there's this heaviness. Here's the hard truth. You cannot skip over grief. Ignoring it just does not make it disappear. It lingers beneath the surface and it shows up, it like oozes out in ways that you don't expect. For me, when I was experiencing this, it really drained my energy. My confidence was shot. My cognition was all over the place. And even the smallest steps, they just felt exhausting. I was like, why am I so tired doing things that used to come so easily to me? So how do you move through career grief instead of getting stuck in it? So this is where, and I'm all excited to share this with you, I created a new framework. It's called the Phoenix Framework. Phoenix rising from the ashes. Beautiful, right? And it's a structured approach, and I developed it to help you process career grief in a way that fosters healing and gets you to a place where you can find momentum again. So there are 7 key steps. The P in Phoenix stands for perceive the loss. Now, that means that you need to be able to acknowledge what's happened and that it actually had an impact on you. And naming the emotions that are associated with that loss, key step. The H in the framework stands for honor what was. Reflect on what the job, the role, or even the project that fell apart meant to you and why it mattered. The O in Phoenix stands for own your experience. This is so important that you are able to validate your own feelings without judgment. You might be thinking, I'm too sensitive or I'm overreacting. Grief is real. You are not being too sensitive and you are not overreacting. The E in Phoenix stands for explore new meanings. So by that I mean reframing the loss in a way that empowers rather than diminishes you. So after my big career setback, I had a lot of negative self-talk in terms of I'm a loser, I'm worthless, and a lot of awful, awful stuff. So I needed to reframe that meaning and what I was saying about the loss as a way to free myself from that emotional baggage. The N stands for navigate the emotional impact. Process the emotions tied to the loss instead of suppressing them. And rituals are a really powerful way to do this. The next thing is the I. Invest in your next steps. Identify small, tangible actions to rebuild confidence and regain direction. And oftentimes those steps have nothing specifically to do with your career or your job. It could be things like taking a walk, spending time with a friend. And then finally, execute with support. Take intentional steps forward with a community, mentor, or coach to guide you, because that's going to allow you to experience all that's possible when you give yourself permission to grieve. Healing career grief, it's not about just grinding and pushing your way through and, sucking it up. It's really about moving through the experience with intention. Now, you don't have to do all of these steps at once. In fact, I highly recommend that you don't. It's not something, again, that you can just power through, and you certainly don't have to do any of these things alone. Working through these steps with, a coach or a therapist or a group, it really helps you be able to access that honesty and sometimes a bit of courage to face what we might be avoiding. So the first step is really about identifying and acknowledging that a loss has happened. Each part of the Phoenix framework is a chance to come back to yourself, not just as a professional, but as a person who's been impacted and is ready to heal. If you'd like support while you move through this framework, I've created something to help. It's the Career Grief Compass, and it's a 5-part workshop series. It's a space to do the work in community with structure, compassion, and tools that you can carry forward. We're going to walk through the framework together, step by step. So, as I mentioned, I know career grief because I've lived it. When I was fired from a job that I was completely devoted to, it took me over 10 years to realize that the emotional weight that I was carrying, all of that self-doubt, the loss of identity, the overwhelming sadness, it was grief. At the time, I did not have the language for it, and I certainly didn't have a roadmap. I don't want you to experience feeling lost or broken because of a professional heartbreak. Over 5 live Zoom sessions, we're going to move through the emotional and practical sides of career grief together. Why grief needs ritual, even in your professional life, and how it helps us mark transitions that we weren't planning for. Creative, symbolic ways to honor a release of what you've lost so you're not carrying it silently anymore. How grief impacts the brain and how small rituals and reflection can rewire us towards healing. Tools to reframe your story and find meaning in what happened without rushing to silver linings or toxic positivity. And then an action plan to move forward, rooted in agency and not that overwhelming sense of urgency. So you'll leave the workshop with language for what you've been feeling, practices to ease that emotional weight, and clarity about how to start writing your next chapter. The workshops begin on Tuesday, April 29th, and they're going to run every other Tuesday through June 17th. And there will be replays, but here's the thing. This series is exclusive and it's free for paid Moonshot Mentor Substack subscribers. The cost to become a subscriber is $5 per month or $50 per year. And to be completely transparent, your subscription, it actually helps me continue offering workshops while keeping them affordable for everybody. And it also ensures that my work financially sustains me. But here's the thing. If you're having cash flow issues and still want to attend, just DM me. I got you, no questions asked. I feel so passionately about this work. I really want to make it accessible to everyone. But if you do become a paid Substack subscriber to my Substack, you also get access to 2 co-working Zoom sessions every month. It really helps with accountability and progress. Exclusive guided meditations to support career transition. And this is one of my favorite parts, the exclusive journal prompts. They help you master these tools and resources that I'm introducing to you. And of course, a wildly supportive community of other professionals who are moving through transition. Okay. That's it for today. I am so glad that you made it to the very end. Visit me at moonshotmentor.com where you can find links to all of my social, how to work with me one-on-one, and also other group offerings and workshops that I have outside of Substack. A very big thank you to Lynn Chen for the video editing. You can find her on social at Ms. Lynn Chen. Thank you again for spending time with me today. It really, truly means a lot. And until next week, I'm wishing you space, clarity, and the courage to experience all that's possible for you.